My thumbs up on the recording.
I don't like how it's crooked. It's crooked. It is recording because it's crooked.
All right, hey, welcome back. Thank you for the shushing. This is going to be session B. You want to sit over here, Dave? Or? Okay, got it. This is session B, so this will be the final session of today, and we have our wonderful group members that will be going. We have 4 projects that will be presenting. And again, thank you for coming and attending our showcase. These students have been working on these projects diligently for a very long time, and so they're embracing and we're celebrating and they're showcasing their wonderful fruition here today. So without further ado, I just want to go over the voting process once again, because we are doing a live viewers' choice voting process. To very easily do it, you just go to socrative.com, you'll click the login, you'll click the student login. My classroom is Smith 8950. You're going to hit join. You're going to enter in your name, and then you're going to make your choice of voting. Once you put it in, it will register right on the screen right out there. Live voting right now. The winner of today will get our Viewer's Choice SIP award that we give out for the audience participation and your guys' Zoom home. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get session B started. And our first contestant / project will go up. Yep. All right. So that will be Kyle, if you don't mind coming up and showcasing your solar flowers.
All right. Hello, everybody. I created the solar flower to make solar technology more efficient and accessible to the masses. I wanted to make something that could be more efficient than a static solar panel. I did this by creating a solar panel that would follow the sun all day. I also made it look like a flower because in many areas, solar panels are not allowed due to the concern that they would be an eyesore. With these, I'm hoping to bypass these laws and have more people able to participate in the solar movement. Typical solar panels collect power with an average of 4 to 5 hours a day. In a single day, the sun is out for around 11 hours. With this panel, depending on positioning and surroundings, it can be collecting power for the entire 11 hours, which is about double compared to traditional solar panels. The process of creating this was not easy. The biggest task was making the panel. Since I wanted it to be shaped like a flower and there is nothing like it on the market, I had to build my own panel from scratch. I had to solder the solar cells, cut the wood, solder everything together, and all these cells are connected to form a circuit, making a 24-volt system. All this power is then transferred to a charge controller that takes the power and sends it to a DC battery. And then from the DC battery, it goes into an inverter, making AC power, which is what you would typically find in a wall outlet or like normal power that you would use. Then I got an Arduino and hooked up a pan and tilt servo system to it, and then also built light sensors to detect the sun. And then this system actually uses very little power to the power that compared to the power that the panel collects during the day. All of this offers people something they can invest in that would be more efficient that they could set up themselves. As an added bonus, they can get as many as they want and make a solar garden and generate as much power as needed. With these panels, there'd be no exclusion either. Anyone would be able to buy and use them regardless of the laws in their area, opening solar flowers up to a much larger market. Not just homeowners either, but people in apartments and vehicles. The only other thing on the market is the Smart Flower, and it is the size of a car with the price of one to match. It also has many moving parts which break easily and make a lot of noise. With this project, I hope to open up solar technology to many more people and create a more efficient, affordable method of making the planet a better place, one household at a time. Thank you.
I may have missed it, but I'm curious what you would believe your price point would be if you were to actually bring this out to the market and how accessible that price point is.
So in one of my financial classes, I actually use this project as big project for that class as well, and they will sell for about 500 a panel and cost about 300 to make. This project by itself cost me just shy of $400 to build myself, but it is a prototype, so mass producing them would be cheaper.
Kyle, how many of these have you tried? Do you have an idea of how many you could possibly string together before it becomes like not functional, or you have a limitation?
Well, I mean, you can string as many together as you want. Thing is you would just have to buy more batteries and more binder boxes to combine all the wires. And you just basically, it could go as far as you want. You just have to buy more equipment to compensate for all the power that you're generating.
How did you get around the laws or maybe the regulations that would block other solar panels from being distributed out, let's say in front of the house or on top of the roof or something, with your unique design?
So I actually used her example for this, which she lives in a historical district, which means solar panels cannot be visible at all from the street. So this would mean that people could put these in their backyards, or like on flat ground instead of the roofs, or on their roofs or balconies. They possibly could, but basically it would bypass the laws stating that you can't have them, like on your roof or in your front yard, and you can still have an option to put these in your backyard or like on the side of your house or in your gardens.
Excellent, thank you.
Question. So, as the prototypes, how many hours does each of those solar flowers collect sun? It's 7-11. Is that accurate?
So depending on anything surrounding it, and also its positioning, just like in a field or like on a roof, as long as nothing's blocking it, it can generate power the whole time the sun is actually out during it. So
is that because it faces up, or what makes it? How did you solve that? What's the design?
So the light sensors track the brightest point in the sky and points the panel at it. So it would just basically follow the light.
Okay.
All the time.
That's what I thought it was. Good.
Have you thought about the comparables in cost and benefit of solar and the batteries and the issue of overemphasis on batteries and the fact that they cannot be recycled largely, and the cost to manufacture batteries is quite expensive. So all in all, solar is really questionably helpful to the environment. At this stage, like solar cars aren't really helpful. The idea is helpful though. The psychology behind Tesla, for example, is really wonderful. But in fact, Tesla takes more energy to run a Tesla than it solves the problem for. So do you see that part of your project and the beauty of the flower concept and the loveliness of the design is something that you said one house at a time? Could part of your messaging be, even though, you have to have, disclosure, full disclosure, even though it may not be a highly cost effective, it's the concept and the idea behind it that builds a social paradigm shift towards this. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, definitely. I know that batteries are expensive and it takes a lot to dispose of them. But I'm not actually sure how much more effective it would be for the environment having this system for just to power your house versus having a power plant power your house. I'm not sure what the emissions of both. Yes.
So, real quick, well, one thing you could do to address the battery issue, and that's not something immediate, but down the line, you could use a different form like conversion to potential energy, where you pump water into a higher area, and then when you want the energy, then you release the water and you use a turbine.
So yeah, you would combine turbine with the solar.
With the pump, yeah. So you combine.
Okay.
You could do something like that and design something like that. That's entirely doable. The batteries, they do recycle a lot of it, so it's good, but it's not great. Like you said, and the mining process is miserable. It's a bad. If you can get away from that, that's definitely something you want to do. One question I had about your sensors, where you're finding the brightest spot in the sky. Is there a time when the sensors get flooded where you can't, where they're sensing as much light as they can, and there might be a brighter spot, but they're not able to get to it? And if so, how would you address that?
So actually, while I was testing it, I would test it inside a lot, and there would be, multiple light sources,
Yeah.
with multiple lights.
Yeah.
And it would get confused on that and try to, go to one and then swing back to another and get confused. But the thing is if it's outside, then, the sun is a pretty big target to hit. And even if something is reflecting off of that back to a sensor, once it moves, it should move back to the sun, because then the light sensor would move out of the reflection.
Well, what I'm asking is, the sensor can only see so bright a light, meaning once you hit a certain point, it doesn't see any more light because the sensor is completely saturated. It's what they call saturated or flooded. It can't see anymore. Now inside this will work great because it doesn't have a bright enough light source to saturate it. But I would imagine with the sun, we'd have to worry about saturation being an issue. So we'd find a spot, and it would be a bright spot. There might be a brighter spot, but it can't tell because it's at 1,000%. It's at 100%. If it's 90 here, then you move it. Okay, it's at 100%. There might be something that's 110%, but it can't read 110. It can only read 100%. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. So when the light sensors reach their max value, they do stop.
Yeah.
But after if it was pointing at the sun, it would still be collecting power, even if it was like just a little bit off.
It could be
and then
better.
The sun moved it enough, it would move again. And
Yeah.
break itself.
Yeah. One thing you could do is put like gels or covers, like semi-transparent, like sunglasses. You put sunglasses on the sensor, and that would bring it back down below the flooding point, so you could get better detection. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So if you run into that, that might be something to get that last oomph that you really need. But yeah, this is fantastic, and I love the sensor thing and the stuff we talked about outside.
Thank you. Last question for you is, where would the product placement be as far as like trying to actually like sales of this? Like when you envision it produced and you're starting to like get it out there, where do you want it to be sold?
I would want it to be sold mostly online, and then possibly brick and mortar stores. I would want to do it kind of like a startup, and then have people, only sell like a limited amount, and then hopefully, if we sell out, we keep producing more, kind of like Elon Musk did with Tesla. I think, don't want to compare myself to it, but something like that variety. I don't really see this being inside of brick and mortar stores or inside of like big box retailers or anything. It's just mainly through my own company.
Good job. Next up, Sam.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sam Dadal. I'm a dual major, network security, network engineering. We presented, my partner and I, he presented the project last semester, and it's the Carry Call holster. The Carry Call innovation came along when Gabe was at a CCW class and decided, hey, you know what? I have a great idea to make it even more secure for somebody to carry a pistol or something for self-defense. So the tool was created to mainly not stop violence per se, but to help the individual who's protecting themselves at that moment and get all that data to pretty much, go to court with it or, God forbid anything like this happens. We created a company called Holster Advancing Technologies. Can you mute? So right now, Gabe is doing the demonstration. Green light signifying the holster, the pistols in the holster. Yellow light will signify that the pistol has been removed from the holster. Now you have a 10-second timer that's then going to take you to the red mode, which is the red light signifying an emergency had took place or our decibel reader has then read a gunshot on the sound decibel. Just to bring up what the pictures look like from last semester. That's what the holster looked like. This is the code. We've never showed the code before. So this is top to bottom showing pins, tones, colors. Going through its C++ right here, there's the red mode. You have your sound sensor. You have your send message. That's the added innovation part of it. And another thing that we also wanted to add in there is something that we got some feedback from last semester is if the firearm is put back into the holster, is it going to go back to green mode? And with that code right there where it goes void loop, that is where it's going to go high on the green. It's going to turn on the green light again, loop back and keep listening to decibels again. This is the void message part. That is then where you can plug in a phone number. You can put 911 or any number you want the message to go to. Plus you can enter whatever message you need. That went too quick. Right there, just going over the code again. State is 0. That means the firearm is back into the holster. You got high on green light and yellow's turned off on their low. And then if a sound does come up, it will go into the else statement and then go ahead and then go into green mode again. This is our poster and this is your update from last semester. Any questions? Hi.
How will you know that the same gun goes back into the holster?
The gun itself will have a magnet mounted on the gun itself right now. We are looking at different ways of trying to make that adaptable to many other pistols. At the same time, you have to think about the decibel reader as well. Right now, that decibel reader is set to read like a 9mm gunshot round. And then, you have other types of pistols, different types of fire rounds, like 40 and 45.
So then if a different gun was put back into the holster, what type of reading would it give it then?
It's just a different decibel reader. The magnet should be adaptable. It should go, once we create like a smaller version of the magnet, it should be able to easily mount on any handgun. Sorry, go ahead.
In the same vein, have you considered using RFID for gun recognition for holster?
We have thought about that. You can sit on this project and the scope can be like way out there and you can do so much with this thing. I was speaking to professors earlier today before the SIP, and yeah, there's so many avenues you can and directions you can take this. It's just that did come across right now to actually get the prototype running. We did not go that way though. We went with just a magnet, your normal conventional ADT home security magnet on your window that gives you status 0 or status 1. Yeah.
I have a question. So I understand that, that it's supposed to read, when the gun's in there, when it's not, when it's fired. And it sends a message to everyone. Is this more just to like automatically notify first responders that some incident has
Yes,
occurred?
that an emergency took place, and also I'll also do it if the gun wasn't drawn. Also do it while it's in the holster. If the decibel reader catches a gunshot, it'll go straight to red mode.
Do you have it, or do you plan on maybe having it set so, for example, that decibel reader, it's specialized to the gun that you say is going to be in there, but it hears your gun and it hears others? Do you think that you can make it so to easily identify?
We do need more testing because you have what a train horn could sound like, what a big bang, what is a muffled gunshot could sound like inside of a, God forbid, another superstore.
Yeah.
There's more testing that would go into this and more time investment. Thank you. Sorry.
All right, let's narrow the scope, please. Tell me who your user is.
It is geared for personal private citizens with either or without CCW permit.
Okay, now, at first I thought this was for police people or security guards, that they would alert their station as to what's going on, much like the video camera on them to protect them as well. But couldn't it be used in that way?
It wouldn't be very beneficial for law enforcement. They already have the technology and have all the big money gadgets that they use right now. This one is just to clarify. This one it might have taken people in a different direction the first time around when Gabe presented.
Mm-hmm.
This tool is for private citizens or CCW carriers. Armed security, which is also a private citizen, they're not sworn.
Okay, that's great clarification.
Thank you. Sorry, I saw a lot of hands. I'm trying to keep up. Go ahead.
So being an avid, gun user, have you guys gone through iterations of form factor, and how small are you thinking that you can get with it? Are we looking at actually being concealable, or?
We've thought, we of course, we thought, hey, how big is this thing? Is it gonna be easy for somebody to carry? Is it gonna be concealable? Things like that. Now, also, that also goes back depending on what state you live in. And if you don't care about concealment, sure, Arizona, they don't care about concealment. You can walk anywhere with this drone. Now, for concealing, yeah, we've thought about that, concealing inside your waistband. Now, again, we have difficulties with then deciding, okay, where would a camera go? Because we're thinking ahead, right? We're still going to put a fish dome camera on it. We're still going to put different features on it that will just not give us the space to conceal it right now.
Okay.
So have you considered like an app that so like let's say you want to go out shooting, but you're
Right, yes, we have thought about getting like an Android app set up. That's not my realm. We've explored different students, different people that would like to do that. They're more than welcome to kind of give it a shot. And yes, that is also something we need to narrow down where, okay, if a group of guys are out shooting with it, if one of them has the holster, is it going to call 911 because somebody shot their gun? Now, there is a way to deactivate the holster. It runs on a 9-volt battery. The rendering, now the brains of it is in that metal box right there. Most of the brains, it runs off a 9-volt battery, but the end result's going to look more like that. So it'll look more refined, more clean, but that's not even with any video equipment or anything. So it might potentially even move down towards the hip, where it's a hip holster. Then you're more not worried about how much weight's on you.
One question by proxy for Dr. Miles. With the sensitivity of guns and gun violence, would the solution contribute in a positive way to the conversation?
It will contribute to, I would say, mostly to the safety part of gun violence. It's not something that would stop gun violence. It's something to say, hey, that guy's got a carry call on him. It's going to become like a taser tool. Taser and the Axon right now, they have the camera and they have the taser and they work together at the same time. Now, if this tool could somehow serve as something that can also work along and integrate with cameras, body cameras, and other tools that private security people even, if you're riding in your car and you have a front camera and a rear camera, and if you do engage somebody, is it going to integrate with your cameras? Now, that's something we can look at to also provide something for safety and evidence and forensics, because in the future, you think of a GPS chip on this thing, it's going to track your movements wherever you go, and that would forensically then align with any police investigation.
I know very rarely, but magnets do get demagnetized, and your whole system based around magnets. How was you?
Not really sure. Never thought of the magnets getting demagnetized, so I do not know. That's something to look into.
We got time for one more.
Ask you, for those who don't use
We haven't went with that route. Let's just say the holster also has a gimmick side of it. So the gimmick side of it is like, hey, I own one of these holsters. I can be a diesel fan and still drive a Tesla because everybody's driving a Tesla. Gimmick play there, but regarding something that's the same technology that's out there. You could find something close to that. I believe there's some biometric involvement into that, but nothing specifically like what we're geared towards. Yeah. Sure, yeah, that's not a bad idea for somebody that doesn't want to carry a gun.
Good job, Sam.
Hello, everyone. And you call me Sebastian. And I have been working with the nonprofit Arizona Blockchain. Their section called Project Phoenix, work on building a mesh network in the Phoenix area. And in my case, I'm wanting to automate the process of setting up because here's our map for where we're going. And as you can see, there's quite a bit of space to cover. You'll see a bit of red squares in there, and I want you to keep that in mind. But otherwise, the area that it's going to is baseline to Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard and 7th Street to 7th Avenue. So the reason why we want it automated is because we will be producing devices for individuals at the time of it, at the time that we're going to be passing them out, allowing people to connect to it. We want an automation script so that we don't have to make a device for all of those houses that are in those squares. Otherwise, the individuals that are there, they want to make it themselves manually. They have the option, but even they don't have the time to set it up or figure it out themselves. They do and just don't want to. It's fine. We'll have an automation process for them to do it. And by that, it's going to be something that uses Ansible, which I'll talk about later. The portion that pertains to most people is going to be down here, and this is the client node section. We're going to be in 3 phases. The red square is where all the clients connect to, and the reason we need this is because it needs to go a farther distance outside of the area of that underserved community to go to our uplink node, the other one to pay attention to, the part that connects us to the internet. So anyone in the section down here can thus reach the internet, even if they are in an underserved community that doesn't have viable internet connection. So the method of doing this is with a protocol called Batman. But it's not this Batman. It uses IP over avian carriers, as you can see in the background there. Instead, we're going to use something called Batman Advanced. And Batman Advanced is a relatively old protocol. It's been in Linux for a while. In fact, it's been in Linux since about kernel 2.6, so around 2007 area. And the reason why we would choose this protocol is because it is a mesh networking protocol. We can use it wirelessly. If there is one device that walks into the network, it is able to connect to it immediately. If it is similar to putting everyone on the same switch. You use MAC addresses, the identifier for your Wi-Fi, to get you to be able to connect to other devices. All we need to do this is a Linux device for our clients to have Batman set up on. Simple as that. If we want to get them to the internet, though, we need an uplink node somewhere. This uplink node needs to have DHCP, the thing we get to get an IP in order to connect to the internet. And we would also need NAT so that we can go through the uplink node in order to talk to the internet. We're thinking about transitioning over to IPv6, mostly because it applies to mesh networks far better for our purposes. The thing is, if we remove NAT, if they install a program, they get they'll have an open port somewhere, and now we've got security issues because, again, underserved communities don't necessarily use technology too well. So we would consider taking off NAT for that, thinking about it. So in this case, this is what it would look like. in our case, I'm not expecting you to read it, but we have BatCTLs we use to control the Batman. We can ping devices, see if we can reach it. We have traceroute to see what the route to that device is, see what devices we're talking through in order to get to our destination. And otherwise, on the bottom, you can see that we use IPs to reach the actual internet, in this case, DuckDuckGo.com. The reason why we use Ansible, the thing I'm using to automate it, I may say playbooks, I may say scripts. In my mind, they're the same thing. Technically, it's not scripted. But in this case, Ansible, we can use it to verify if the configurations are on a device. If not on a device, it'll throw it right on for us. And all it needs is SSH on the device we're pushing it to. SSH being our direct communication protocol to the device. And as a result, we have an Ansible computer pushes it onto an SSH device. Issues that came with setting it up, though, is on the far side, we have something that is called Network Manager, and we have a whole lot of networking stuff in our computer. With the one that we're using, there were a lot of things conflicting with it, and as a result, had trouble actually getting the software to to begin with. When we come over here, IP tables, kind of like the firewalls in Linux, they aren't set up right. If they're in the wrong order, if some things are backwards in it, it's not going to work. You don't know why. So as a result, those were the main things I had to deal with when setting it up. Otherwise, on the next slide, I can explain after if there's time you guys want me to for it. But otherwise, with our devices on the network, if we have a server that's meant for secure communications, such as Rocket Chat or Murmur, you'd be able to connect to it. If the uplink goes down, anyone on that network is still capable of communicating with each other. Here's that thing. And otherwise, thank you, guys. This is for just push the configuration. You can turn it off right after it's open.
Then all that comes back.
Yes, and in fact, our script, if we have SSH open, you can put the script, make it so that it says turn off when it reboots. And in order for the configuration to work, you just need to reboot the computer anyway. So, completion is after you reboot the computer. If we reboot the computer, we can also close the port.
So my question is that who, with a project this large and people using it in neighborhoods that typically can't afford that type of stuff, where's the fronting coming from? Who's paying for this?
Working on finding funding. You're right, that is actually our main issue at the moment. We can get devices, we have gotten devices, we've done quite a bit of this. We're looking for funding.
Security wise, like, as in, people don't really, blocking server ads. How would this be the new, let's just say the new cost?
We're not intending for that to be what it is. This actually might be using the Cox network. Because again, we have to get to the outer internet eventually. Our uplink device has to talk to someone like Cox. If they're willing to provide enough bandwidth, whoever the owner of that spot of internet is, if they're getting their internet from Cox, they just need to purchase enough bandwidth in order for us to be able to go through to them. It is not replacing an ISP. That is not the purpose. The purpose being these communities which Cox hasn't gone to, for example, or has only dial-up internet, we would be providing this so that they can actually use the internet at a reasonable pace.
You just said it. Okay, that was going to be my question. Who is your user? Why do they need you? And you just said it right there. I would have liked to have heard that in the beginning of your presentation because that's consequential to what you're doing. It's immediate, and I think that it serves a purpose, and it goes back to Dr. Miles' question of a previous Sam yours. You know, what is the social ramifications of this? And I think that you just announced that very well.
Saying underserved community start. So, I mean, I grant I just had a time limit that one was busy.
Sure.
Sorry
No,
about that, but
no, that's fine, but thank you.
How many maximum nodes and how many nodes are currently running?
currently running are just the devices that me and the others on the development side have built. So we've got something set up at Gateway Community College. I think we're still setting it up actually. I don't remember if he said it was done yet, but that network we're going to be showcasing at some time at the end of this month, and we're going to be showing that it works really, not necessarily that everybody's using it over there. So us on the development team, side two, I guess.
Is there a hard set maximum?
Yeah, maximum of devices
Of
able
nodes,
to.
yeah.
So I'd say that's a question of which bandwidth we have, because you can
Functional
have,
bandwidth, yeah.
yeah, because you can have a like uplink over here, one over here. Whatever devices are closer to go to those. And if this one goes down, go to the other. Hope bandwidth is working.
So it's not DHCP's scope range limited.
Which is why, so DHCP is the reason why we're wanting to switch to IPv6. Because DHCP is not well built for mesh networking. Possible for doing it, but say,
That's Unix.
thus is why we're using Linux.
Yes.
Linux kernel has modules to make it go as fast as it can. We can make Windows devices connect to it because we can make these Linux devices basically a Wi-Fi spot. But otherwise, yes, that's what we're using.
Yes.
Good job, man. One more question. Now, you know, in some areas that don't get internet or good Wi-Fi, for example, they have Wi-Fi boosters. How would that relate to what you're doing?
We can use a booster to make it so we can better connect to areas.
Okay. So
I'm actually know what Wi-Fi booster.
oh, it cuts off latency, makes sure you still getting the same amount of bandwidth.
So better connection.
Better connection.
So in that case, if we have our say uplink that we want to connect to, it's not a large antenna, we can boost it, I guess.
Good job. Uh, 8950. Smith, 8950.
8950.
Yes. Devin, go ahead.
A lot of faces.
Oh, we're starting. My name is Evan DiGiacomo. Today I'll be presenting my project Trader. Trader is hosted on the Ember Discord bot that I helped co-develop last semester with the ACS Production Studio team of spring 2019. Somehow I'd only learned about SIP 3 semesters ago, but it could not have been better timing. At that time, I had a couple of close friends who were trying to start an eBay business, and they always complained to me that we don't have a way to price match or search items across multiple sellers simultaneously. So that was the inspiration for my innovation. Trader was always meant to give everyday online buyers an innovative new way to compare prices and search for items quickly and easily across multiple websites. It's originally supposed to be a Chrome extension. It was going to be modeled after Honey because I like the way it looked. Honey is a slick looking Chrome extension that looks at coupons for the item that you're currently wanting to buy. However, after helping create the EmberBot with the ACS Production Studio, I wanted to bring together the innovations of both projects, providing them to a community of over 4.5 million active daily users on Discord. The working prototype for Trader was developed iteratively using the Agile development method, Node.js, GitHub Desktop, coded in Visual Studio Code, and tested within Discord itself. As it stands, the Trader app currently, it was written in the TypeScript language utilizing NPM packages like Cheerio and Request to help me web scrape, manipulate, rework, and organize for the users by way of Discord's custom text embedder. As it stands, We currently support 3 major online sellers, Amazon, eBay, and Newegg, with no limit to how many other websites can be added in the future. So this demonstration shows the innovative functions working with the bot. You can just grab a link, plug it into the Discord command as shown. Load. Boom. You get price comparisons and items from 3 different major sellers right in the palm of your hand right there. You can also search for keywords. It'll do the same thing, get you the most relevant results with the most reasonable prices. There's not a bot that does this on Discord yet, and I thought that was pretty cool. So you can just click on the link. Items right there. Of course, I couldn't have done this project without the really, really talented guys who worked with me on the Ember Discord bot last semester. Seriously, incredibly talented guys: Nathaniel White, Ross Hall, Garrett Haynes, Rashab Singh, Jordan Brown, and a special thanks to Bailey Herbert. I don't think he's here, but he helped me a lot with the web scraping. Just taught me a lot, and I want to thank him a lot. So thank you guys. Thank you, UAT.
Were you able to do any testing yet on the performance? Say if you get 10,000 users on this at once, like in the same 30 seconds, versus like just testing 1 or 2 at a time.
That's a really cool thing. Since it's hosted on the Ember bot, the way that the Ember bot works is it's cloud hosted, and it's actually contained. So each time you download or if you like add the Ember bot to your Discord channel, it's actually your own instance of the bot. And that's the innovative function of the bot itself, is that it's modular and fully customizable. So since you have your own instance, if you're tech savvy, you can add as many commands to it as you want.
So the processing is distributed then.
Exactly. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
Does it have any natural filters or anything set up in there to kind of distinguish, like, kind of like a garbage thing? Like, well, this one's a broken one, because I noticed that when you in your little demo, one of them was like $44 for a card. It must have been broken or something, right?
I know.
Really don't want
There's
this
still
stuff.
some gigs to work out, but
Okay.
for the most part, it's just like getting the most reasonable price for the most part.
So do you have a vision of where you're going to go with this from here? Are you going to kind of push it out and do more with it, or are you just going to?
Yeah, I want to add more sellers. I want to make, I want to narrow down. I just want to make it more accurate, I guess. I think the keyword function, brought up like I typed in 970, it brought up like a 1650. So
yeah,
it's just like related items. But I want to go ahead and narrow that down, and it's going to be pretty.
How did you make the decision to go to Discord over using it as an extension? I think you mentioned you originally envisioned
the browser, right? Well, it still can be. It's done in TypeScript, which is a web development language. But I just thought it'd be super fun to do it with Discord, because Discord users use bots for a ton of things, right? Like YouTube, even Bitcoin trading, like really crazy stuff. So I was like looking around, and there wasn't anything like this on Discord. And I was like, well, I use Discord. I know a lot of people who use Discord, so I wanted to give that to the community.
I have a random question.
Yeah.
So you said it for Discord, you said, I guess it can be added as a browser extension. If you make this, is this going to be something that you're just doing to be cool and nice, or are you going to actually try to make this a station of some sort? If that's the case, how are you going to generate income?
Yeah, well, I thought it'd be really cool to keep working with the guys that I worked with last semester. Build this out, add more sellers, maybe even move it into a Chrome extension, which was the original idea. The fact that it's on Discord is a proof of concept that it can work anywhere. Website, Chrome extension. It's going to be the same type of code, just in a different form. So, yeah. Oh, this is free. It's going to be open source, free. You don't have to pay for Discord bots anyway, so.
I was hoping.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'd say that the idea sounds pretty cool, and to actually progress it to the levels of money. I know money free to use that, but they're now being paid by businesses to support honey. So, I mean, there is a possibility for monetization of the, I guess, mandate. I don't think you have, but somehow honey's now getting paid by companies.
Yeah. Pretty impressive. Good job, Devin. Thank you.
All the way, all the way.
Go ahead, start talking, Brandon.
No, for the monetization, they want to get, fill Mark's heart here. You could do a couple of things. You could put a sponsored ad in front of the ones like what Amazon does, or you could introduce a bias where there's certain things that get listed first. That might not necessarily have the perfect match, but they're enough to squeeze them to the front of the line. You could go those directions.
When you say that, because I was actually trying to filter out sponsored ads from Amazon because they were so freaking annoying. They weren't relevant, so I mean, thank you, but no thank you.
Thank you very much. And that concludes session B of SIP Fair and our SIP Showcase. Thank you all for joining and being a part of this. Professor Derek Funk, you want to make a quick announcement?
Yep, so yeah, great SIPs. We also have another event going on at 2 o'clock. So for those of you that are around, we have Aaron Ali, who is an alumni and game industry professional. Is going to be giving a presentation in here at 2. So we'd like to invite you guys all to that as well. So thanks.
Make sure to vote if you haven't for viewer's choice. Otherwise, thank you for your attendance and participation today. Wonderful job, guys, and enjoy the rest of your Tuesday.